I wanted to make a video that would speak to both men and women who are struggling with anxiety, but I decided to really focus more on guys, especially with social anxiety. And the reason I want to do this is because I think men get more socially anxious in many areas than women do. I think women don't understand why men behave the way they do and don't even question it could be social anxiety, because a lot of the socializing of men is done in a way to make them stoic, shut off their feelings when they are feeling afraid or nervous or concerned, rather than asking men how they feel and helping them cope with it and understanding. We call them weak for feeling those feelings. And especially at a very young age, when you call a boy weak because he's crying or he's anxious or he's too afraid to try something, you actually set up a whole lifetime of him where he's going to struggle with social anxiety. So I thought it may help just to get clear about how men display or show their social anxiety, what happens due to social anxiety, and compare and contrast that a little bit with females, because I think when women listen to this as well as men, they'll understand their partner better, and maybe they'll be able to ask better questions to help their guy feel better about himself and maybe help minimize some of this anxiety. The first one is when guys are socially anxious, they turn to alcohol and drugs a lot more. The culture for men is to have a drink, much more than women have a drink, or even some illicit drugs. In other words, the whole idea is this is painful, this is difficult, let's numb this. And guys don't have a lot of backups. They don't have a lot of guys who say, let's talk about it, and show empathy and say, man, this is really hard. I'm sorry you're going through this. So their other options are limited. And that's why many of them will turn to drugs and alcohol. Drinking helps you numb it, helps make you feel better about it, helps make you feel like you can handle it. But remember, it's short-lived, and it also contributes to depression and anxiety. So it often makes it worse. When men are socially anxious, they're going to show more symptoms of anger. You may see women cry, but guys won't do that. They will act out more with anger. So a lot of times, if you see men and they're angry, or you're dating a guy and he gets angry, it may possibly be that rather than him being really angry, he's socially anxious about something. Something's going on with him that's making him feel pressured or anxious. And it'd be so much better if you were to step in and say, it seems like you're upset about something. I don't know if you're really angry about something or if you're more concerned, worried, because when they're worried and they can't figure something out, oftentimes their behavior will be to turn to anger. You may see them yell more, fight more, do things that just is out of the ordinary for their personality. Pumping iron. Guys really love to pump iron or go to the gym when they're angry, when they're feeling socially anxious. And this is good for them up to a point. The more you do it, you can actually change your brain chemistry and you can become more agitated, more irritable. So if you're spending all day at the gym just to feel better about yourself, pretty soon you're going to suffer at work. Pretty soon you're going to suffer at home with what's going on in your social life. It would be important at that point, when it becomes excessive, if guys could say, man, I need to talk to someone. And then maybe they have a close friend, or maybe they could talk to their reverend, or maybe they would even consider talking to a counselor. Whoever they choose to talk to, as long as that person is empathetic and can validate where they are, there's potential that the guy could work through that and actually get some clarity, some sense of control to help him cope with his anxiety. Many men, it's been wired into them that they are the provider. So if they're an ambitious guy, they're going to have social anxiety if they don't feel like they're where they're supposed to be at this point in their life. They're more receptive to feeling like failures, like incapable, disrespected, All of these things men carry a heavy burden for. And a lot of that was social conditioning when they were a small child. And it was put in their head, you're the provider, you're the breadwinner, you're the man. And although that's not an entirely negative thing to say to your son, what's important is that you also validate the times they are feeling anxious, that they're able to talk to you about, I want to be the man. I am the provider. I'm feeling like a failure. And you're able to remind them of the areas they're not a failure, areas they've excelled in. Maybe they're a fantastic dad. Maybe they're a fantastic son. Whatever area they're excelling in, it's always important to tell them when they hit this part of the anxiety. And the thing is, you can be married to a guy with social anxiety and having these feelings. So when they go out in public, first of all, they don't want to go to events with you. They don't want to get dressed up because it's not you. Inside, they're feeling like they're not enough. They're failures. And when they've got that mindset going on, it's very hard to move past that if they don't have anyone to talk to or anyone who can empathize and validate what they're saying. Staying single. Guys have a lot of feelings about still being single at a certain age. For men to have a child or a family, they need to pair up. Yes, you could say, well, women are in the same situation and women feel anxious too. And I do think a lot of women feel anxious about this. And it's actually been shown that socially anxious single women sometimes feel this way. But there's a lot more networks for women who are single than for guys who are. And I think many times that's why men will date a body rather than really find a quality relationship, because they don't feel adept at finding someone who is really going to be that other partner. They have a lot of fears, especially, think about it, if they feel like a failure at work, then they're going to tell themselves they're not enough for any woman. Why would they find a relationship where they were responsible, where they were going to be the man, if they couldn't even take care of themselves? And I think just working through this conversation, being able to get to a point where you can talk about this is really going to help minimize social anxiety and make it better. How does social anxiety affect men's relationships? Well, in the way that, if you think about it, it's men's job most of the time to make the first move. That's still acceptable in our society. And dating apps haven't helped because there's a lot of other guys going for the same woman you want to go for. And if you're the one that's supposed to make the first move and you have anxiety about what you have for this person, it's only going to heighten your anxiety. Yes, women have a lot of social anxiety effects of relationships too. However, women have a better network. Research has shown that women going through dating and being single have an easier time emotionally than men do. And the reason is because women can lean on other women. It's okay to open up and talk about it. Guys, it's not. And women will usually blame guys if they don't step up and invite her out to a date, or they're not consistent, and they'll make all kinds of reasons up why that is. Very few women have the understanding that, you know what, this could be a social anxiety. Like, maybe this isn't why he's following through. Maybe this is why he's falling back. The guy is anxious. And once you can talk about your anxiety, we know it automatically de-escalates. So I think for both partners, yes, there are social anxieties out there. And yes, I see a lot of clients with it. But you don't have to stop or limit your life because you have it. You actually can prevent it. You actually can minimize it by talking to someone, talking to yourself, taking small risks, taking steps. You don't have to look at the big picture. You break the big picture down into small steps. You do a small step and then you applaud yourself. You step back and go, good job. It's important that you advocate for yourself. If I were in the dating world with a social anxiety, the first conversation I would have with a person I met was I would tell them honestly, listen, I deal with this every day. I have all kinds of negative thoughts in my head. I worry about being enough. I worry about being successful. I worry about, being able to be a good boyfriend or girlfriend for you. And then once that is out there, I think it makes it a lot easier to talk about it. It makes it a lot more comfortable to admit it. And I'll bet your partner will find social anxieties within themselves that they've never had awareness of until you came into their life and were able to talk about yours. So if this video helps you, please subscribe. And for all of you who are already subscribing, I want to say a big heartwarming thank you. I use those for inspiration and to come up with more creative videos that I think are going to help you create a relationship you love.